What's going on, my friends? Welcome back to the channel. In the last video, I made my second attempt on painting this door. I'm not a professional painter. I did not expect perfect results. However, a lot of my smaller projects have come out really good so far. I painted the front lip up here on the Evo, if you can see that. I painted the wheels on here. I painted the calipers. Both came out really, really good. I decided to tackle something a little bit bigger. Honestly, aside from the clear coat, everything else so far has come out perfect. My second go at this, I sanded this thing down to pretty much bare metal, re-primed everything, re-blocked everything. Base coat laid down beautiful. For some reason, when I laid down my clear coat, I have got tons and tons of fish eyes. They're not big, they are small. It doesn't look like they're all the way through every layer of clear coat, so I could possibly sand them out. Fish eyes do seem to be a little bit bigger up here at the top, and there's also a little bit of solvent pop going on everywhere. It's very, very minor on the actual surface. Where the door handle is, there is some very, very serious bubbling underneath the clear coat. I'm gonna see how far down I can sand these fish eyes, and we'll just kind of take it from there. And if worst case scenario, we may just have to re-clear this thing. Stay tuned. If you haven't seen the last video, definitely go check it out. I got this thing fully blocked out. I got the base coat on there, and then like I said, got the clear coat on there, but had some problems. Showed it in the last video. It doesn't look like you can see it on camera, but when I was editing, it definitely picks it up. But here's some of those fish eyes. It looks like you can see one there. There's another one up top. There's a few others up here. Ones down here on the main panel, like I said, are very, very tiny. They're also more spread out, but there's also some solvent pop in here. There's very, very, very tiny dots that you can see. One thing I did do off camera is I unmasked all of this, and for some reason I was not thinking when I was just masking everything. I should have just pulled this bolt out, and instead I masked around it. That clear coat built up so high that when I was trying to pull it away, I tried cutting it away, it just started to peel. This part is covered up, but I'm not going to leave it like this. In the meantime, I did go ahead and loosen this thing up, and I can take this bolt out now. Not sure, like I said, how well this picks up for you on the camera, but there are little bubbles in there, and if you actually look in the clear coat, if you were in person, you can actually see the bubbles. When I run my finger over it, you can feel the waviness and all the little bumps that are there. It does suck. The body work came out really, really nice. All of the primer laid on good. I was able to get it all blocked out. I was able to get the base coat laid down very, very nice. But I'm still learning on this clear. Like I said in the intro, I'm just going to get started. I'm going to start sanding on these fish eyes up here. I'm going to see how much clear coat has to actually go down before they come out. If these actually do come out, I may try to go ahead and polish it all the way. And if it works out, I'll start working on this over here. I don't think this is going to polish out. I think that all of those bubbles down there, you're going to have to sand all the way down to base. But I could be wrong, so we'll see. If this comes out, I know I can polish all of this out down here. I may just try to touch all of this up by hand, put some clear coat on it. It's not going to look right, but at least it'll all be covered and protected. And again, the handle's going to go over that, so it's not like you're going to see it. It would keep me from having to respray that clear, but I don't want to. I would like for that to be perfect. Either way, I'm going to get started over here, see how this comes out. If this works out, I'll move on to the next section. If I end up burning through the clear, then obviously I'm just going to have to sand everything down, but we'll see how it goes. was able to get these top fisheye sanded out, no issues at all. Look down there really closely, you can still barely make out where they were. I left just a tiny bit, that way when I went back with my other sandpapers before polishing, I could kind of use that as a guide. Unfortunately though, when I tried to tackle these bubbles like I thought, I knew I was going to break through. Those solvent bubbles go all the way down. Using this as I was actually sanding them down, but you can still barely make out where 3 of the bubbles were at. Now instead of bubbles, they're actually little craters. They're little tiny fish eyes like everything else. Because that clear coat collected down here at the bottom and all of that built up, I did switch over from the 600 to the 320 grit, and then I already went back over it with the 600. I just showed a little bit of it, but I feathered all of this out up here. It's not feathered perfectly, but again, you're not going to see this. It should look just fine once I put that base and clear on here. Same thing with this side. Once I was able to get those clips, it kind of left some high points, so I feathered it out the best that I could. Now that I know I'm going to be having to respray the clear, I might as well just go ahead and tackle the rest of this. I've got some things on order for my paint booth. It's not an actual paint booth, it's just a little bit of a deviation from what I usually do, hoping that that's going to fix my solvent pop and fisheye issue. To get the rest of this sanded down though, I may switch over to the DA. I may just try to do the rest of it all by hand like I've been doing the top up here. I want to try not to burn through anywhere if I can, so I do have those gray and maroon scuff pads. I may try to utilize those. Once this thing is fully scuffed and sanded down, I'm going to get all of this masking redone. That way the door is completely ready to go and I can just worry about the paint booth. Door is completely sanded down. You can see here where there is no more shiny spots. I also got everything remasked. Everything's nice and clean now. Now that the door is ready to go, it's time to focus on the actual paint booth, and that's why I went ahead and picked this thing up. This has honestly been a long time coming. I have really needed a big compressor. A lot of the air tools that I've bought, this little one has just not been able to keep up. Alongside of that, having this bigger air tank should make painting a whole lot easier. As usual, I did do quite a bit of research on this. I looked at some of the name brands, Husky, DeWalt, still a big fan of Harbor Freight. There's certain things that are just kind of cheap in there, but there's other things that I feel like you can get a really good deal on. I bought the orange Daytona Jack down there a few years ago, and then I went back and bought the blue one. These things have been absolutely amazing. They're the low profile, long reach. They really make it easy to get underneath some of these low cars. Not a huge welder, but this thing has been a really great purchase when I have needed it. It's really come in handy Never had an issue out of it. There was a couple of models that actually had inline pumps, but DeWalt actually had a twin style pump also, but there was a big price difference. Harbor Freight is actually selling themselves short because when they compare it on their website, they're showing that the DeWalt is only $650. Tractor Supply is the one that always has the cheaper DeWalt tools, and when you go to the website, it shows that it's on there for $600 or $650, but when you actually click on it, it says out of stock. There's another model number on there that's the actual compressor, and it is $850. It is weird, for some reason the inline pumps seem to get a little bit more airflow. These twin styles, the DeWalt and this one, both get 5.3 at 90 psi. The inline pumps get 6.2. The reason why I went for this is they said that one, the pump is far superior and it stays much cooler. I had a coupon. This thing is $550 normally. I got it for $500, so a pretty good deal compared to the $850 DeWalt. I already did the break-in. You just open this up after you plug it in and fill it up with oil. Just turn it on, you let it run for 30 minutes. I will say this, the V-twin pumps do shake a lot more. This thing was wobbling back and forth. Luckily, the spot that I have it in, when I pushed it up against the wall, it sits pretty stationary right here. I ran it the whole 30 minutes and didn't even have to touch it. But this is the first upgrade that I did. Hopefully this is gonna help out tremendously. The other thing that I picked up is a couple of these little box fans. Got them at Walmart. They were 20 bucks a piece. They're 20 inches. The reason why I've got these is because this time, instead of having just one fan sitting out up front, I'm actually gonna try to have an intake and an exhaust. I also picked up these sticky filters. It says they're actually for a paint booth. Luckily they are square and they are 20 inches, so they should work perfectly. One side is just a regular filter, and then one side actually has a little bit of a sticky adhesive. All of this together, that should be a huge change. The other thing that I picked up is another shop light over here, so now I have a total of 4. Originally I just had these 2 right here, and then I went back and bought this third one, plugged into that wall so that I could paint this little quadrant right here. What I'm going to do this time is I'm actually going to tape off this whole front half. Instead of just taping off this front quadrant, I'm going to tape off the whole thing. I wanted to have another light over there on that side for that. Door is ready to go. Just got to get the paint booth set up. I'm going to get my air supply ready over here. I'm going to get the desiccant right here changed out. I'll get all of this taped off, get those intake fans set up, and see if we can get this paint laid down. on the front Evo 10 door is finally finished. Paint job is by no means perfect, but everything laid on pretty good. There is a little bit of dirt and dust and debris in there, as to be expected. I should have no issue sanding and polishing that out. Still got a couple of fisheyes. There's one right up here up front. Aside from that, everything else came out absolutely beautiful. Very, very, very excited to have this thing done. This is my third time painting it. What do they say? Third time's the charm. No solvent pop issues going on at all. There's no speckling, nothing like that. There's no bubbles over here at all. Everything looks nice and smooth. If you look closely in that lighting, you can see some of that debris and dust and stuff that has fallen in there. As far as the paint booth goes, taping it off was no different. Instead of just stopping halfway, I just went all the way over and went down. Adding the fans on was actually not that big of a deal at all. I just used those little hooks, hooked one into this side on this hanger, and then hooked another one in over here on this little hanger. The fan's put up already, but you can see these little hooks here. I bought them off of Amazon for another project. Just came in handy for this one too, so I'll leave a link below if anybody wants to pick these up. With those hangers supporting the weight, I just taped around the outside of the fans, went to the back side after it was all fully taped. Just used a box knife to cut out the back of it. All of that was actually pretty easy. The hard part was getting the filters to stay on the fans. Just used this tape, and what I tried doing is taping the filters to the fans themselves. But what I should have done, and what I ended up correcting it with, I put the filters over the fans and then taped them to the plastic covering. Even though the filter has an adhesive on there too, I thought it was going to stick really good, but this tape does not want to stick to the filter at all. This tape sticks pretty good to the fans, but when those fans are on and it's turning, it's actually shaking pretty good, so it comes loose. And what I figured out is if you actually tape it to that plastic, it does not move. It sticks there for good. Once I taped them to that, I had no more issues. Air supply over here worked out absolutely great. It's a 29-gallon tank, so with this thing completely full, I got 2 coats on before this thing ever kicked on. I was into my 3rd coat when it finally kicked on for the first time. My little 8-gallon over here kicks on halfway through the first coat. Very, very happy with this thing though. The other thing that I decided to pick up is a new paint gun. This thing was a little bit pricey, but I wanted to see if it made a difference at all. In all honesty, I do feel like I could have laid down the exact same paint job with this gun. However, with that being said, this thing was absolutely well worth the money. The trigger feels completely different. Everything feels just so much smoother. Controls are very sensitive. You get a very, very wide fan pattern on this thing. You do not get near as wide of a fan pattern on this one. Again, I still think you can get just as good of a paint job with this. This thing just adds more of the amenities. This is an Amazon special. I use this as my primer gun. I'll leave links in the description for all 3 of these. I'm not sure what all made the difference. However, I think what made the big difference is the reducer that I used. Technically for the clear coat, it's the hardener. They don't make an extra slow, they only make a slow. I wish they made an extra slow. I feel like if I had used that and let it sit for just a little bit longer, I would have gotten 0 fisheyes. After everything that happened in the last video, I did as much research as I could to figure out what was happening, why that was going on. I basically just don't have a temperature regulated paint booth. I'm just using my garage. I am in Texas and it's pretty hot right now. The slow reducers are only supposed to be good up to 90 degrees and it's getting about 95 right now. One last thing that I did do big differently as far as my technique goes is every coat that I put on there before the final coat, I sprayed fairly light. I let each of those coats dry for about 10 minutes. I think I did 3 or 4 coats like that, and then on my final layer is when I laid it on really thick and wet. Obviously, overall, very, very happy with the results. I am going to end the video here. In the next video, I'll get this thing all polished out, hopefully get it back on the car. If you enjoyed the video, if you learned anything, please hit that like button. If you want to see more going on with the channel, see the rest of the car get painted, hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys next time.